welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I realized the other day that I have not talked about our struggle with infertility on my YouTube channel yet. Just a little bit of a brief recap of our infertility journey up until this point. Shane and I decided fairly early in our marriage that we were ready to have kids. We weren't exactly the youngest when we got married, so it just kind of made sense for us to go ahead and start trying earlier on. We'd only been married about 6 months, and I had gotten the Nexplanon implant just before we got married. When we got the Nexplanon removed, we just kind of assumed it's going to happen pretty quick. And this was April of 2017. So I remember going for my 30-day checkup and telling my doctor that I thought I was pregnant. And she did a pregnancy test and then left because I was the last patient she saw on Friday evening. And I just knew I was pregnant, so I had to fight to get an answer, and I demanded that somebody tell me. And they told me it was negative, and I was like, well, that's okay, because, next month's probably going to be different. And for the first year, it did not fail. Every single month, I would have symptoms that I was pregnant. But I just knew I was pregnant every month. And then every month, when I would take a pregnancy test, it would be negative. And it was just absolutely heartbreaking every single time. Well, after the first year, I go back to my doctor, and I'd seen her for a couple of years, and I really liked her. She seemed to be great. And I go back to her and was just like, hey, I'm still not pregnant. It's been a year. What do we think could be going on? And she says, oh, well, it's probably nothing. But let me check you for PCOS. And I'd done some research on that, and I knew what the symptoms were. And honestly, I fit that bill. I fit a lot of the signs and symptoms of PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome. So that day I go and get the test done, and she says, okay, well, we'll call you with the results. Okay. And this time I'm not the last patient on a Friday. I am one of the first patients on a Thursday. So, and she told me, like, it may be Monday before you hear something. So that's fine. I understand. Well, I didn't hear from her Friday. But I'm going ahead and putting myself on the diet that helps with PCOS fertility. And we think everything's going to be just fine. Monday comes, I don't hear from her. Tuesday comes, I'm anxious. By Wednesday, I'm upset. So I called them and was just like, hey, just wanted to know, I was tested for PCOS the other day, and I was supposed to have gotten a phone call back, and I've still not heard from anybody. I'm just wondering what the results were. Like, we were told that it was most likely going to be positive. Like, yeah, that's what you have. I'm just curious. And the nurse says, I don't have anything on your chart for PCOS. And she says, hang on, your doctor's here. And she forgets to put me on mute or hold. And she says, hey, I have this girl on the phone. She's wondering if what her PCOS test came back, but I don't see that in here. And that's when I hear my doctor say, what is she talking about? I never said that to her or about her. Did she just make that up? Like, excuse me? No, I very clearly remember having these tests done. I still have the bruise on my arm from the blood work. Like, I'm not stupid, but okay. I hang up after I talk to the nurse again, and I was polite with the nurse. I'm like, oh, well, okay, thank you. I hang up and I schedule an appointment with a different doctor. And this is a doctor directly across the street from where I'm working. I've known him for years. Great doctor. So I go over to him, and he says, like, hey, it's already been a year. I have your test results here. I have your blood work. I have your ultrasounds. I have everything from your last clinic. You don't have PCOS. But we don't know why you're not pregnant. So let's just go ahead and start you on Clomid. All right, that's fine. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's move on. At 6 months, I have to go back for another exam just for a Clomid refill. And even then, it's still, I'm convincing myself every single month that I'm pregnant. But he says, hey, listen, it's now been a year and a half. If you want to keep seeing me, you want to keep trying these methods, that's fine. I'm going to suggest that you go see a fertility specialist. And I was just like, okay, yeah, let's do that. That makes sense. Let's just go ahead and schedule an appointment with somebody. I get an appointment really quickly, like a couple weeks quickly. And when we went up for our first fertility appointment with the fertility specialist, he seemed very optimistic, and he's like, listen, I have your blood work, I have your ultrasounds, I have all of your history. You don't have PCOS, but nothing else makes sense. He wanted to treat me as if I had it, whether I did or not, because he's just like, hey, what would it hurt? So I start taking the metformin, and he put me on letrozole, and he put my husband on a couple of different vitamins, and we decided to do the IUI, or intrauterine insemination. We have to do 3 treatments of those, and those were the worst because we would have to travel like 3 hours for our appointment, and we would have to go up twice during a cycle because I would have to go up once for my day 11 test to see if I was ovulating, and then again 3 days later for the actual IUI. And the IUI had to be done, we had to be there at 6 a.m. every time. And this was November, December, January. So of all the times that it's going to be inconvenient to have to drive that far that often in such a stressful situation, the December treatment was actually done 6 a.m. December 24th. But we went up, we did the treatments. He put me on the diet from hell that I talked about in one of my weight loss videos. It was just absolutely horrid. But I did lose 25 pounds. And just before my last IUI treatment, when I went up for my day 11 exam, I asked him just point blank, like, hey, why isn't this working? It doesn't make sense to me. And he said, honestly, it doesn't make any sense to me either. I really don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Your numbers are perfect. Your husband's numbers are perfect. There is no medical reason that you're not getting pregnant. And I said, well, I've researched IUIs and I know you really don't suggest doing them more than 3 to 4 times. Do you want to try the 4th time, or what do you think I should do? And he just looked me dead in the eye and said, I think you should give up with IUI if this does not work. Maybe try in vitro, but that's expensive. And so I was determined that the January one was going to be the one that worked. So after that one, 2 weeks later, when it's time for my next cycle, it doesn't happen. So we waited a couple of days. I took a pregnancy test and it was negative. And I was just like, well, I don't know what to do here. I don't know what to think here. So after 2 full weeks of me being late, I actually ended up getting sick. And I'm having like flu-like symptoms. So I don't know what it could be. I want to go ahead and take something, but so my supervisor at the time was just like, hey, everybody's pregnancy symptoms can start out different. Just go to urgent care. See what they say. If they say, yeah, you're pregnant, congratulations. If they say, we're sorry, no, well, go home, take some medicine, get some rest, go to bed. Come back in the morning if you don't have the flu. I go and I tell them, hey, I had an IUI treatment done about 4 weeks ago. I'm late. And now I have flu-like symptoms. Don't know if the two are related, but I kind of hope they are. And so they have me do a urine pregnancy test, and they did a flu swab and put me in a room. Now remember that my doctor just said, like, hey, if this doesn't work, basically give up. Because we'd already discussed with him we didn't want to try artificial insemination at this point. I'm waiting on the doctor to come in, and he finally comes in, and he isn't making eye contact with me yet. He's looking down at his tablet, and he says, well, the good news is you're not pregnant, so we can give you whatever we need to. And my brain isn't comprehending. Good news, not pregnant. And I said, excuse me? And he says, yeah, you're not pregnant, so you can take any of the medicines that we need to give you. And then he finally looks up at me. And he realizes he said the wrong thing. And I burst out in tears. And he's just like, what? I'm sorry, were you trying to get pregnant? And I said, yeah, we were. And that was kind of our last hope. But what do I have? And he's just like, oh, I'm sorry. You have a cold. I'm really sorry. Let me give you a minute. And like, as frustrating as it was, as upset as it was, as I was, like, he didn't know. I had talked to him about it. And, He didn't realize that that was something that we were trying to do. So, like, as upset as I was with him in the moment, now, I don't think twice. Like, yeah, it was a little crass, but yeah, okay. But after that, we just kind of, we gave up. But I guess really we just more shifted our focus, because when I got home that night and we sat down and had a conversation, I told Shane, like, yeah, I'm ready to just put all of our money towards adoption. Like, we have two options, and that's adoption or in vitro. Cost is about the same, honestly, if you're doing a private adoption, and that's what we intended to pursue at that point. I would rather have my money on a sure thing than to continue to take this gamble and continue to have to take pregnancy tests and not see results. So we decided to go ahead and focus on adoption, and that's just kind of where we are now. And I think it's still been a rough journey, but it's definitely given me some closure with the infertility and just kind of given me hope and helped me move on. It is still sometimes a hard subject to talk about, but honestly, it doesn't hurt anywhere near as bad as it used to. But what that leads me to, I said all of that to just kind of give you background for where I'm coming from with how I view Hannah in the Bible. So we meet Hannah in 1 Samuel chapter 1, and Hannah is in a polygamous marriage, and she is married to, let me see his name. I don't know if I'm ever pronouncing names or towns or anything right, but I believe Hannah's husband's name was Elkanah. And he had another wife whose name was Peninnah. And Peninnah was blessed with a bunch of babies. But Hannah remained barren. But it seemed like Elkanah loved both of his wives, and at times he would even favor Hannah. And this wasn't exactly a time where infertility was like just, oh, that's sad. If you could not provide your husband with children, you were this terrible woman. So she had not only societal pressures, but Hannah desperately wanted children of her own. So she had pressure from society. She had pressure from her own heart's desires. And at the same time, she's watching her husband's other wife have baby after baby. At one point, Elkanah even goes to her in 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 8 and says basically, like, am I not enough for you? Like, why do you keep pushing for this? But he had kids, so he didn't understand what it was like to just not be able to have them. One year, Hannah goes to the temple. And I'm sure, based on my own experiences, that every year she told herself, this was the last time I won't be coming with a child. Because every single year since 2017, I've said, oh, this is the last Easter without a kid. Oh, this is the last Mother's Day or Father's Day without a kid. The absolute worst was Christmas. Oh, this is the last Christmas that we won't have a child. From here on, we're going to have a baby, and we get to buy all the toys, and we get to talk about Santa Claus and Rudolph and decorate the whole house again for a kid. And we're just going to make it this big magical time. So I believe, I don't know, it doesn't say, but I believe that Hannah experienced something very similar with, this is the last year I make this trip without a kid. From here on, I'm going to get to share this with a kid. I'm going to teach the kid how to pray. It's going to make new friends. I'm going to be able to talk to the other moms. But this year, when Hannah went, she wanted a little extra prayer time. She wanted some time alone. So she goes in to the temple, and I believe everyone else is at the feast. I'm not sure right now. But Hannah goes into the temple to pray. And she is praying so earnestly and so just... Hannah is praying as hard as Hannah knows how to pray. And the priest comes in and scolds her for being drunk. And she had to tell him, like, no, I'm not drunk. I'm just praying. I want a kid. Her exact words in 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 15 said, I was pouring out my soul to the Lord. And at that point, Eli basically became her prayer partner. And he prayed for her and with her. And then just told her, hey, go on your way. The next time Hannah was in that same place, she was holding her baby boy Samuel. What I find to be so sweet is in verse 19, it says that God remembered her. Like, how precious is that? That because of our prayers and the prayers of other people praying for us, it's not that God necessarily just forgets about us. Like, there's so many people, like, I forgot she was there. But it said that he remembered her. So Hannah tried. Hannah tried to pray as hard as she could to be a mom. And she was. And now 2 books of the Bible are named after her child. But if you are someone who is struggling with infertility, please know that I'm praying for you. I can't necessarily be your Eli, but I'll be your prayer partner. I pray for women struggling with infertility daily. I will continue to pray for you. You can send me private messages on Facebook, Instagram, comment down below if you're comfortable with that. Let me know. Let me know your name, and I will absolutely pray for you by name. But remember, even in the hardest times, it's not a punishment. It could just be a test. It could just be the baby that God has in mind for you just hasn't been created yet, or has to come in a little bit of a different way. Don't be discouraged. Don't think he's forgotten about you. Because 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 19 says, God remembered her. I know this got a little bit deeper and I guess a little more sad than usual. But I just kind of thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and let you know my history with infertility moving forward, because we are moving forward with foster care and adoption, and there will be some videos with that. But I also just wanted to reach out to other people struggling with infertility and other people who are trying to conceive, and just remind you, like, hey, God remembers you. And even when it feels like you're completely alone, you're not. I'm here and I'm praying for you, and I will continue to pray for you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.